Now that we know how to put the flute together, we have to learn how to take it apart and clean it the right way. So let's first take it apart, and we're going to put it back in the case and then take out each piece individually to clean it. First, grabbing it again by a spot that has no keys, take the foot joint off by carefully twisting it back and forth. Just like we did when we put it on, we're going to do the same thing to take it off and carefully rest that back in the case where it came from. Now we're going to do the same thing with the body and the head joint. Twist them apart, carefully put each piece back in the case where it came from. Now you should have, and if you don't and we need to get, is this cloth. And this cloth can just be any piece of cotton cloth. It could be a cotton handkerchief, works really well. Or you could go to a music store and buy a flute cleaning cloth. All it is a piece of cotton about this size, probably about the size of a design that you would have on a t-shirt. Doesn't need to be any bigger than that. So take your cloth and take what's called the tuning rod, which is just this thin piece of metal that should be in your case. Yours might be made of plastic or it could be made of wood. Either way, it's this one rod of metal and has a hole at the very top. We're going to take a corner of the cloth and thread it through that hole. It only needs to go through about 2 or 3 inches. After you do that, we're going to take the rest of the cloth and drape it over the top. We're going to be putting this inside the flute, and we want to cover that top piece of metal so it doesn't accidentally scratch the inside of the flute. So holding this in one hand, let's start with the foot joint. Carefully take it out without grabbing it by the keys and putting the cloth end in first. Just go in from the bottom, carefully push it through, and it'll come out the other side. We do this because when we play the flute, we get moisture builds up on the inside. And if we don't swab it out with this piece of cotton, then that moisture kind of grows and turns into bacteria, and that's not something that you want to be putting near your face every day. Once this is done, carefully put it back into the case right where it came from. Then we're going to go up and grab the body. Same thing, cloth end first, push it in from the bottom part of the body, carefully push it all the way up, and you'll be able to see it pop out of the very top where you can grab it and pull it all the way out. And now we've swabbed out the inside of the body. Go ahead and put that back in the case. The last piece is the head joint. And as you know, the head joint's only open on one end and closed on the other. So put the cloth end of your tuning rod into the open end. Don't push it really hard, but let it get all the way to the top. Give it a good twist around a couple of times to really collect all of that moisture, and then pull it back out the same way. And now the head joint can go back in the case. Take your tuning rod, take the cloth out, and put the tuning rod back in the case where it came from. Now when the flute is in the case, all of the pieces should fit nice and comfortably. If you carefully bring the top part of the case down to the bottom, and it doesn't go down all the way, that's telling you that there's 1 or 2 pieces of the flute that aren't in correctly. And you never want to jam it down because then you're going to break a part of the flute. So double check and adjust anything that needs to be adjusted until the top part of the case closes all the way down. And then you can go ahead and zipper it back up or latch it back up, whatever kind of case you have. This cloth should never go inside of your case because it gets a little dirty for one thing, and for another thing, even this extra stuff inside the case can push against the flute and can cause damage. So what we're going to do is take this cloth, thread it through one of the handles of the case, and just give it 1 knot just so it stays there. It'll not only dry out, but you'll have it every single time you go to clean out your flute. And that's how you take it apart and clean it. Make sure to clean it every single time when you're done playing.